Hey, Fitzy here, back at the game with another one. In the last video, I turned around and got the body all painted inside and got it welded back on Krusty's frame, okay? The next step in this car now is to do metal work, do the floors, all that type of stuff. I have a couple of projects now in winter that's going to need metal work done to it, similar to this here. But there was a project I've been putting off now for well over a year, and I got to get it done. So I'm going to start with this one here now. This is going to be part one of a series on this build because there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of modifications to make to this project, and I'm going to take you guys along, so stick around. Okay, now let's get started on a new project. I've got this over a year. This was given to me by a good friend of mine over a year ago. And I've been kicking it around. I'm going to need it this winter and for this fall as well. So I wanted to build it. Now for a while I've had to buying a bunch of parts and bits and pieces for it. I've had it kicking around here for well over a year. So let's open this up and see what we're going to build. I've already been into this, so I know what's in there. It's just that, you know, and it's been dusty, so it's been kicking around a while. This is just something now, I've been wanting to build one of these for a while. I already have one of these, but it's not, what I call elaborate. This is what it is, it's a bead roller, okay? So these are the old cheap universal bead rollers. You get them anywhere. This one here came from Jegs, I think. That's where this one come from. Come from Jegs. But they're basically all the same. All the dies are in here. This is one of the reasons why this is pretty cool, because there's some dies, step dies in here that I'm after. And for making floor pans and whatnot. So, but the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to make this stronger. And we're going to mount it on a stand. So then I got it here permanently, whatever. So I got to size this up now and figure out what way I'm going to reinforce this. Most people just run plating on the back side of it. I am playing around with some other ideas, so let's see what I can come up with here. So here's the problem with these here, when you buy these here. These got a movement back and forth here, okay? I'm hardly even moving that there, but you can actually see I can move that across. And these flex along here, right? And what most people do, they just reinforce the back side of them here and do all that type of stuff with it. What I've been trying to size up and doing them is like the ones that you buy, the bead comes right out through the middle of it, and there's box on this side, and this side's closed in as well, and it's closed in over here. And I've been trying to figure out a way that I can actually do the same with these, okay? Make them look presentable looking, and you won't see none of this here, and it'll look like a regular bead roller. Now, some will say, well, you're going to need a deeper throat. I'll manage with this, okay? You know, just you need a lot of things in life. Like, you know, things can be better if you had better tools and a bigger shop and, you know, more money. But that's it. You make do what you got, and you make what you got work for you, okay? So what I got in my head now is I want to figure out some way that I can reinforce this side of it, not interfere with here, in terms of any of the adjustability of this here. And I would like to close it in somehow so that the strength is on this side and not on this side. And that way I can turn around, I can dress it up, I can paint it, I can do whatever I like with it. So my idea I got in my head is, okay, now brace yourselves, it's a brand new piece, is I have a bunch of this old rusty steel kicking around, angle iron. This is what my plan is to use this. You could go out and buy it all new, fine, but I'm always into recycling everything. And if I haven't got to spend money on steel, well, that's it. The only difference between this and brand new steel is this got rust paint on it, the other stuff don't. I don't mind that because I'll grind it off, clean it up, and I end up going to probably paint it anyway. So, but this is the idea I got in my head. So I'm going to sit down now and come up with some plan and start figuring out how I'm going to weld all this together and have it so that it's all going to be functional and the purpose is there, that the strength is there. I just looked at the whole point that out here in the front, if you look at this here, the way this flexes, if you can sort of box off this inside section here, on the front side of it. It's not so much back through, it's just right here on the tail end if it gets worse. The further forward you come, the worse it gets. So if you could turn around and get this out of it, if you could box a section in across here and possibly in below this section here somehow, and then join it onto something on here, that would stop this here from wanting to rock back and forth, okay? So let's get something figured out here now. So I've been here playing with it for a while, different bits and pieces and stuff like that, taking this out and sizing all this stuff up and whatever. And the idea of using the angle iron, it gets too complicated with trying to fit all the pieces in there the way I want to fit them in there. I have an idea of running something past through these two here and having a hole drilled in them so that the amount's here, but I'd like to have something there that would give some strength on the back side of it, because the flex is going to be between here in this section right here, right where the end ends, and it'd be nice to have two of them joined together right on down through here and just have this here passing through the middle of it. What I come up with, and I'm playing around with the idea, I have some of this stuff here, but that's all I got is that piece there, and I got some 2x2, right? Yeah, 2x2 there, but that don't seem to be big enough for me for what I want it for, because I wanted to come out past this lip here, okay? I want it to come out past this. So I need roughly about 2.5 inches to come out from here. My selection of steel. I'm getting a lot of it here now. But I just remembered I had these here trailer jacks. So I'm going to dig that out, bring that in now, because that's 2.5 by 2.5. And that way I haven't got to go cutting nothing. And it seems to be heavier too, so let's get there, bring that in, size up what that's like. So what this is a belonged to a camper. Apparently had to do with the slide out on the camper. It's a piece of 2.5 by 2.5 by 1/8 wall. I'm pretty sure it might be a bit thicker, I'm not quite sure. But I had this here, I was going to use it on another project. The project that I need it on, I only need about half of this, what I'm going to use it for. And the rest of it, I think I'll have enough to build what I want to build for that. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up and hauled apart here now, start taking some measurements and cut off a few pieces and see how much of it I need. So I got everything removed off it. This is interesting. You ever find that piece and say to yourself, there should be a use for that. I gotta put this away, I'll find a use for that. Cool little piece all the same. But anyway, I got that all limbed off. Then I come over here and I cut off a piece of it here. Got a piece cut off here that I already saw and stuff, and that's what I'm going at there. But before I got into that, I started sizing everything up, trying to think about how I'm going to run this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece up through here first. And what I do when I have that small short piece that I had here it is, I got it marked out. I'm going to drill 2 holes through this now. These here are 1 inch thick. I'm going to do 1 inch and 3/8, 1 inch and 1/8, 1 inch and 1/4. And I'm going to do 1, so as this 1 inch and 3/8. That'll give it room for it to move on the end. I want a piece to pass through that there, so I can weld it on there, and this will all slide through where it'll come down this way. And I'm going to run a piece through here, and a piece along the top for strength. And that's the whole goal, what I'm planning on doing. And then I'm thinking about making a cover for it, to put on the outside of it, just for cosmetic looks, so it just looks presentable looking. And make something up for that. So what I'm going to do here right now is I got this here marked out, the centers, and then I measured it up so that I was in the center off of this here. All right, so then I'm going to turn around and drill out 2 of these. This is the bottom hole and this is the top hole. So this is the smaller and this is the bigger hole. So I got the old trusty drill press taken out here now, set up on the bench, and I got the bit in it there now. I'm going to go ahead now and drill out these 2 holes. This one here will be the small hole, and that one there will be the big hole. So, I got them drilled out. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to take this apart here now, and I'm going to slide this on over it and just check to see if I got clearances on this top one, because the top one is the only one that's going to move, it's going to go up and down. And I want to make sure that it's not going to touch nothing in around here when I go to move it. So, I'll get that all apart now, and we'll get that to see if it goes together. So, mistakes were made. As you saw me going with the die grinder there, I measured up, or I measured from this side. I should always be measuring from here up. and then marking it, and I never measured it twice. I measured it once and I cut once. Mistakes were made, but I had to die grind it out. Problem solved. Everything's fine. Don't panic. You do know Fitzy makes mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. So I got that all set up there now. If you see what I'm talking about there, I got it made now, so that'll swing. So now I got to measure this one and get that one cut off. I cut it off, but it's going to be a bit too long. This guy's going to go there. I got to shorten that now just a bit so I can actually fit that one in there. So I'll get that one cut off now and get that fitted. So here's what I come up with. As you can see, this one here passes right through this one here. This will be welded to this. All this will be welded, and everything will be welded to this here, okay? I'm trying to get this as close as I can to the middle in terms of strength-wise as I can. And up here, I was playing around with the idea of getting another piece of this and run lengthways, but I remembered I still had this angle iron here, which is the same height anyway. And all I'm doing is I'm going to weld that here, along this here, and along there, and up along there. That'll give strength. The thing with it is I can still move this one. And I have an opening here on this side here, same as the other. So that way the metal can pass through. There's something there, a bit of support or something very close to the edge here. I figure with the piece of angle iron up here, this here and this here will give it a lot of strength. And then this here up here with the 2 dimensions on it, which is like 2.5 inches up across there, that should give a thickness to it, right? So I think this here should be strong enough. It's going to be strong enough, that's it. I'm going to start cleaning up all this metal here now and take this apart, mark everything out, strip all the paint off of this here, and get that ready to weld together. So I got everything cleaned up here, all the bits and pieces, all done. All brand new metal, look. I bought that, it's all perfect. Just cleaned it off, 24 grinding discs is all I did, right? Grind it all down, clean it all up. My first thing I'm going to do now is I'm trying to put this together as much as I can before I weld to this. And what I figure is for sure is 2 of these are going to have to go together first. 2 of these here. I'm going to have weld 2 of them together. And then this one here, I think I'm going to have to weld on after the fact. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. So I'll end up welding 2 of these together, welding them on down to this here, and then I'll weld that piece on after. Got to be very careful because I'm trying to keep this level here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up where I know I can weld all the way around it. I'm going to weld this to the bench because I don't want this here to move, and I'm going to let it cool naturally on the bench when it comes time. But for now, all I'm going to do now is set 2 of these up on this here and tack weld them together and get them welded. So if they go on a little bit off level, I'll just set them up and I'll weld them on whatever way they lays, and that way I haven't got to worry about the warpage on this here, right? So all right, so let's get that all put together there now and start getting stuff welded together. So I got it all clamped together here. I squared this up with this here. So that's squared up. I made sure they were centered in here as well. And then I mounted this piece here and squared that up to this here. It made sure that it was up enough that the head clearance is on this here. So then when I rotate everything, everything rotates freely, okay? That's the way everything rotates there, and everything's rotating nicely. So I got that ready to go. I'm going to take this side off so I can get in here and weld. And I'm going to tack weld this here on the 4 corners and let it cool down. And I'm going to take this off here and I'm going to weld this up completely and get this all done. So that's done. I haven't got to worry about it. So I got that welded up there, going down through there, and on this side here, I'm letting it cool off now, and I'll flip it over and weld it on the inside, so that's done. Haven't got to worry about that. My old air captain, working great. The problem I got with this so far is I can't remember my settings. I'm so used to this dial setup, and I just put it at a certain spot on the dial, and you see the white lines, that's where they got to be, and that's what you remember, right? Up here, you got to actually remember numbers, because the dials don't work down here, because you can turn them down around a dozen times. But yeah, I'm going to have to start writing down some numbers, because I'm going to forget them. But anyway, that's not bad, is it? So I welded the inside, then I grinded it all flat, because I got to keep this all level. And then what I went and did is over here on this side here, turn that in the light, I did is I grinded all this down here because this is where the metal is going to be going in through, and I wanted to get it back as far as I can because this do overlap up here a small bit. It doesn't go back as far as this. It probably comes like my fingernail is there. It probably comes to there. On that here, I'm not too concerned about that little bit. If you wanted to, you can get really foolish. You can cut this out and put a pipe in there and have it so it falls back and la la la. I'm not good at that, okay? Now, next thing I got to do now is I got to put this together, position this on this here, and put a couple of quick tacks on it just to hold it there so that I can get this positioned. I'm going to weld this onto the I-beam, and that way it doesn't move, and then I can start welding the whole thing together. So here's where I'm to. I went and put only 3 tacks on this, just temporary tacks. I positioned that with all the bars in place, tacked it in place, and I took it apart because I needed a part for this here. Now I turn around, I got my I-beam taken up, nice straight flat edge here. I got this position on this now, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld this to this, okay? You can clamp it all you want. There's always movement in steel. I can honestly tell you, you can tack weld stuff together and start welding, it'll actually bust the weld. So it'll stretch like a pair of clamps or something like that if you're going like that. And I prefer to just weld stuff onto stuff. That way it doesn't move. And the thing with this is now I'll weld this along here to keep this 2 of these parallel, and I'll weld it back here as well. But what's amazing about this is if you look in through here, you can actually see light in the middle. Through the middle there. All the way down through the middle there. This here has got a sort of like this, okay? This whole piece. So I'm going to flatten that out, clamp that there, weld it on the back side here, and do the same thing over here in a few tacks. I'll cut it clear later. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this welded on this here, and get started welding that up. I'm going to clamp it on, and I'm going to show you. Just by clamping it on, you can watch this piece of steel here and this piece of steel here when I start clamping it. Look how much that's moving. So I clamps that. That brings that down level, because this is high and this end I didn't know why. This here, I had this all welded together. I thought it was welded on an uphill. But when I clamped this to the I-beam, which is flat and straight, the bow on this here was holding this up. So I get a couple clamps on that now, and I can get this welded on. So I got that all tack welded on there now. 1-inch beads every so often. I got 3 on this side and 3 on this side. Here's nice and flat. This is actually laying flat on its own now. There's no strain on there or nothing. That's what I wanted. So there was an actual bow in this here. You know, it's a cheap tool, so you don't know. And unless you check the straightness of it, you've got to watch it, right? So I got that there pulled straight now. And all I'm going to do now is go around and put like 1-inch bead passes on this here all the way around it. And just keep doing it until it's all welded on solid, because I want this here to be solid on the machine. So that's what I'll do now. I'll do like probably 1 or 2 inch passes and let it cool down, and then go back and weld it again. So here's where I'm to. You saw me welded everything up. I welded everything but this section here, because I don't want to go interfering where the mounting block is to, so I haven't never welded here. And in here, then after I weld it, I grind it off. I finish it off when I get to the part of it, but I'm not going to be able to get it when I get this piece on her. But I got it fully welded on, solid, all the way around. As you can see, it's all welded across the back there and everything, and I grind it off here, and I V'd this out in here. And then I welded it up because I got to grind that flat again. Then I welded the bottom side underneath here. So now this is what I'm at here now. I was putting this piece on. I went and put 2 pieces of angle iron on and tack welded them on just for jigs so that you can actually line everything up, keep everything flush. Then what I did is I measured from here over to here, and I had, it was something in 3/8, whatever that was. What was it again? It was 3 3 3/8 is what it was. So then I come up here and I measured that there, so that opening was 3 3/8 to here as well. And I've done the same thing in here, 3 3/8, so that way the throat itself is the same thickness all the way through it. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process again. Weld all this on here, inch at a time. I'm going to weld that right to that there, solid. So that'll give that strength. And then I should have all the bracing done. Let's get this welded. So I got that all welded up. I didn't bore you with that again. You see me enough welding. I got that all welded on. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to leave this alone right where it's to. I'm going to go grab some lunch. Let this cool off because I just finished welding it. And just get her back so she's all back to room temperature before I cuts anything clear. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing's moved. So it's been a couple of hours now. Everything's cool. This is all nice and cold now. So I'm just going to go ahead now, let all the clamps go. Just curiosity. Nothing's moved. Nothing's moved. So I'm going to get all of this here and I'll let go and get this cut clear from this here and get it off and just hopefully nothing has moved. And anyway, I'll get to figure that out now in a sec. And there it is. Went ahead and I cleaned everything up and grinded everything flat on this here. Ran the grinder over to get any slag running off it. Let's see what else. And grind it all, of course, the welds and everything off it. I'm pleased with it. I had to tweak it a small bit, I won't lie to you. But I had to put a lot of strain on it. And there it is there. It lines up nice. Okay? And the flexibility of it, if you look here, there's very little or nothing there. I'm trying to move all that. That's plenty strong. So that works out best kind. So that's it for the first modification. So I'm going to leave this one here. This is where we're going to end this one here. I don't want to have these videos too long. So I got a lot of modifications to it. And I'll give you a heads up. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 more, 5 more modifications to do this. Yeah, it's a lot of modifications. Can you figure out the 5? Anyway, I hope the tips were good, and until next time.